Getting back with an avoidant. Are you wasting your time? It's a painful question, but one that might be quietly living at the back of your mind. You found yourself stuck in a loop, replaying conversations, analyzing every text, or the lack of one, trying to make sense of someone who keeps pulling away. They come close, then disappear. They say they care, but their actions feel cold. You convince yourself they just need space. You give them more grace than they've earned, but beneath the rationalizations, you feel it. That subtle, persistent ache. Am I holding on to someone who was never holding me back? I am Jim Rohn, and if that question resonates, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not needy, you are not overreacting, and you are definitely not alone. So many people with anxious or open-hearted attachment styles find themselves emotionally entangled with avoidant partners, drawn in by the connection but slowly drained by the inconsistency. Today's video is for those of you who are trying to get back with an avoidant, wondering if this time will be different, or if you're just repeating the same cycle hoping for a new ending. We're going to unpack what's really happening beneath the surface when avoidants resurface, how to tell the difference between genuine growth and emotional breadcrumbing, and how a secure, grounded person would navigate this without abandoning their needs or chasing someone who can't meet them. Because here's the truth: someone coming back doesn't always mean they're ready, and your love for them doesn't mean they're capable of loving you in return. But clarity is kind. And by the end of this video, you'll walk away with the confidence to stop second-guessing and start honoring your peace. If you're ready for that kind of clarity, make sure to hit subscribe. I'm Jim Rohn, and I'm here to help you move forward, not in circles. What I want you to remember is this: avoidant behavior is often a defense mechanism. It's not always about you. In fact, it's usually not. But that doesn't mean you should tolerate emotional unavailability. So, if you're sitting here wondering, should I wait? Should I reach out? Are they even capable of coming back and showing up differently? That's where clarity comes in. Independence felt safer than closeness. Needing someone, that felt risky. And if you're dealing with an avoidant, you've probably seen this play out. They value space. They pull away when things get emotionally intense, and sometimes even love starts to feel threatening to them. Not because of you, but because intimacy triggers a deeper fear they might not even be fully aware of. Now, here's where most people get stuck. They want to believe the avoidant will come back different. Maybe they've seen small signs, like a random text, a subtle social media post, or just that feeling that something's still there. And listen, I get it. When you love someone deeply, even breadcrumbs can feel like a meal. But you need more than potential. You need proof of progress, and that starts with understanding what growth actually looks like in someone with avoidant tendencies. It doesn't mean they suddenly become overly expressive overnight. That's not realistic. But it does mean they show small signs of openness. Maybe they're willing to acknowledge the breakup. Maybe they express curiosity about how you're doing, even if it's guarded. Or maybe, for the first time, they admit they're not great at relationships and want to work on it. These aren't grand gestures, but for someone who's avoidant, they're steps in the right direction. What matters even more, though, is how you feel in the process. Do you feel safe, or are you constantly second-guessing yourself? Do you feel respected, or are you still chasing clarity that never comes? Because even if they're slowly opening up, if your emotional needs are still unmet, if the relationship is one-sided, unpredictable, or anxiety-inducing, you need to ask yourself, what am I getting back? And this is where a lot of people fall into a trap. They confuse endurance with love. They believe that if they just wait long enough, give enough space, prove how patient and understanding they are, the avoidant will finally turn around. But love shouldn't feel like a waiting room. Relationships grow when both people are actively tending to the connection, not when one person is always hoping the other will catch up. So here's a powerful mindset shift. You're not here to prove your worth to someone emotionally unavailable. You're here to honor it. If they aren't showing up now, they probably won't suddenly do so later, unless they're doing the inner work with real self-awareness and willingness to grow. And you don't control that part. They do. What you do control is your boundary, your clarity, your decision to stop confusing inconsistency with effort. And if that means letting go, it's not failure, it's self-respect. Because choosing yourself isn't rejection, it's redirection toward the connection you actually deserve. So let's say they come back. Maybe it's been weeks, maybe months. They reach out, they're more present, they're saying things that sound promising. Naturally, your heart jumps, but your mind? It needs to stay steady, because not every return means real readiness. Avoidants are known for cycling back when the threat of closeness is past, but that doesn't mean they're ready to connect on a deeper level. So how do you know the difference? First, they take ownership, not just in vague sweeping statements like, "I miss you" or "I messed up," but with real emotional accountability. They name specific behaviors. They acknowledge how their avoidant patterns impacted the relationship. And they're not defensive about it. They're not trying to justify or downplay. They're owning it. That's a green flag. Second, they don't avoid hard conversations. You're able to talk about the past, how things broke down, what hurt, and what needs to be different, without them shutting down, changing the subject, or making you feel like you're too much. They might still get uncomfortable. This is new territory for them, but they stay present through the discomfort. That's huge. Third, their actions are consistent. They follow through on what they say. If they say they want to talk more, they initiate. If they say they're working on themselves, there's something tangible behind it, like therapy, journaling, reading, or at the very least, honest reflection. No more big promises followed by silence. No more hot and cold confusion. Fourth, they make space for your needs, not just their comfort. Avoidant partners often prioritize their independence over connection. But if they're truly growing, you'll start to feel included, not like an intrusion. They ask how you feel. They care about how their behavior affects you. They want to learn your emotional language. And finally, they're willing to grow with you, not just near you. There's a difference between someone who wants to keep you close so they don't feel alone, and someone who wants to build something stronger because they've realized what really matters. If they're still hiding behind vague intentions, still afraid to be emotionally seen, still hoping you'll do most of the work, they're not ready. They're repeating old patterns, and you're being invited to step back into the same cycle. But if you see emotional accountability, consistency, openness, and effort, not perfection, but progress, that's something to pay attention to. Growth is slow, but it's not confusing. When someone is truly ready, you won't have to decode their every word. You'll feel safe, seen, and supported. That's what real readiness looks like, and you deserve nothing less. So let's say you're starting to see signs that your avoidant ex might actually be ready, not just to come back, but to show up differently. They're more emotionally available. They're acknowledging past mistakes. Maybe they're even asking real questions about what you need. And now you're standing at a crossroads. Here's the thing, how you respond here matters a lot. Because this is where anxious attachment can creep back in, where the excitement of connection tempts you to overgive, over-explain, or leap ahead of the emotional pace they're actually able to sustain. But if they're truly showing up differently, your job isn't to rescue or fix. It's to stay rooted in your own worth, your own clarity, and your own standards for love. So how do you do that? You meet their openness, but you don't rush in. You don't say yes to the relationship again just because they're back. You stay curious, you stay calm, and you say something like, "I appreciate you reaching out and being honest. I can see that you've done some thinking, and that means a lot. But if we're going to re-explore anything, I need to move slowly and see consistent actions over time. I want connection, but I won't settle for confusion." That's not cold. That's secure. That's clear. You're not punishing them. You're simply saying, this time, I'm going to honor what I need too. Because if they really have grown, they won't be scared off by your boundaries. They'll respect them. They'll understand that real intimacy requires time, trust, and effort. And they'll meet you there, step by step. Let them prove they've changed. Let them show, not just say, that they're ready. And while they do that, you stay connected to yourself, to your needs, to your values, because the goal isn't just to get them back. It's to create something healthy, secure, and sustainable, something worth coming back for. And if that's not what they're offering, then you'll know what to do. If you've decided to give things a second look because you've seen real signs of growth, the next step isn't jumping back into the relationship. It's creating a reconnection phase, a middle ground where you both get to feel things out again, slowly, intentionally, and with emotional honesty. This phase is not about proving anything. It's about observing. It's about protecting your peace while exploring what's possible. And most importantly, it's about boundaries with warmth. You're not closing your heart, but you're not handing it over blindly either. Here's how that might sound. I'm open to reconnecting, but I think it's important that we don't rush into anything. If we're going to explore this again, I need clarity, consistency, and room to speak openly without fear of being too much. I want to see how we communicate now, how we handle discomfort, and if we can actually build something more solid than before. That kind of statement does a few powerful things. It sets the tone for emotional maturity. It makes clear that access to you isn't unconditional. It invites partnership, not performance. During this time, you observe. You look for emotional presence over promises. Do they reach out regularly and with intention? Do they listen instead of deflecting? Do they make space for your feelings or just want access to your comfort? And on your end, stay grounded. Don't fill silence with chasing. Don't avoid your needs just to keep the peace. Instead, practice secure behaviors. Ask clear questions. Express appreciation without over-potioning. Speak up when something feels off. Because this isn't just about getting them back. It's about seeing if they can meet you consistently in the middle. The reconnection phase is like a bridge. If you're the only one doing the walking, it's not a bridge, it's a rescue mission. You're not here to rescue, you're here to rebuild with someone who wants to build with you. And if they can't do that, you'll know not with bitterness, but with clarity. Because when you lead with self-respect, you never really lose anything worth keeping. There comes a point where your nervous system knows the truth before your mind can admit it. You've waited, you've given space, you've listened with compassion, you've extended the benefit of the doubt more times than you can count. But deep down, there's a still, steady voice whispering, "This is not meeting me where I need to be met." And that voice? That's your self-worth calling you home. Because here's the honest truth. If you are constantly confused, over-explaining, walking on eggshells, or shrinking yourself to keep someone close, it's not love. It's self-abandonment dressed up as loyalty. You can't build intimacy with someone who fears closeness and won't take steps toward you. You can't feel secure in a connection that requires you to silence your needs in exchange for crumbs of attention. You can't keep chasing potential while sacrificing peace. So if you've reached a place where nothing's really changing, where their words are nice but their actions don't follow, where the cycle keeps looping back to distance, withdrawal, and vague half-connection, it may be time to let go. Not as punishment, not to prove a point, but because you've finally remembered your value. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't care. It doesn't mean you didn't try. It means you care about yourself, too. It means you've stopped mistaking their silence for a test and started recognizing it as an answer. Sometimes the bravest thing you'll ever do is walk away from someone you still want, because you finally know that wanting more is not the same as receiving more. And when you release what's not choosing you fully, you create space for something that can. Someone who won't be scared of your depth. Someone who won't need distance to feel safe. Someone who's ready not just to come close, but to stay. So if you're at the edge of clarity, let this be your permission. You can love them and let them go. You can grieve what you hoped for and still choose yourself. And in choosing yourself, you don't lose. You begin again, with dignity, with wholeness, and with the kind of peace that doesn't need chasing. If you're still here with me, Thank you. I mean that sincerely. This wasn't an easy topic to sit with, but the fact that you stayed says a lot about your emotional courage and your willingness to grow. In this video, we explored what it really means to reconnect with an avoidant partner, how to tell whether you're moving forward or just cycling back into familiar pain. We talked about signs of real readiness versus old patterns dressed in new words, how to respond with grounded clarity instead of emotional reactivity, and what it looks like to hold space for possibility without abandoning yourself in the process. Most importantly, we walked through the deeper truth that no relationship is worth losing your peace, your self-respect, or your emotional stability. The love you're building, whether it's with someone else or with yourself, should feel like a home, not a battlefield. And if that means letting go, you're not quitting, you're choosing yourself. And that choice is never wrong. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're rebuilding, reassessing, or releasing, I hope you walk away from this video feeling seen, empowered, and a little more secure in who you are and what you deserve. If this resonated with you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. I read every one, and your voice matters here. Don't forget to subscribe if you'd like more content like this. Real conversations about love, attachment, boundaries, and healing. This channel is a space for grounded clarity and emotional growth, and I'd be honored to have you be part of it. Again, I'm Jim Rohn. Thank you for watching, thank you for trusting, and thank you for choosing your own heart, one honest step at a time.